Hi everyone, my name is Adam, and today I wanted to talk to you about how we managed to automate quite a lot of our work on Facebook, and how actually that helped us grow even more. So a few words about Peak. Peak is a brain training app. We launched it 2.5 years ago. We reached more than 22 million users in its lifetime. And we were nominated as one of the best apps of 2014 in the App Store, and best apps of 2015 and 16 in the Play Store. Before I start, I wanted to give you a little disclaimer. All of what I'll be talking about is based on our personal experience, and it's a lot about interpreting the data. When you're working with data, it's a lot about building narratives around it, and building hypotheses and working around these. So you might actually have seen the same things or slightly different indicators, and if you have, then let us know, because we would love to have some feedback. Why do we decide to automate user acquisition? Well, the first reason is, it's not on the slide, but actually it's quite a lot of fun. It was cool to get our hands dirty with some coding. Again, debatable. But the other reasons are that actually it allowed us to free up some time for all the rest that we were doing. For instance, we think that working around the creative is much more important than actually working on than the operational work that you're doing otherwise. It also allows us to manage more, so we can manage more campaigns, we can manage them in more geos, we can manage more campaigns across more channels as well. And the last reason is actually, for instance, optimizing, creating new campaigns, creating new ads. It's not the funniest part of the job, so it also allowed us to reduce a lot of the operational tasks that we had. So how do we see managing Facebook ads? We divided a lot in two. The first thing is testing, so you're finding what works, and once you find something that worked, you optimize it. So in other words, you try to make the most of it. When it comes to testing, we think there are two sides to it. There's the targeting, so you can test which markets work the better and so on. And there's the creative, so the actual messaging that you're going to use. When it comes to optimizing, it's all about bidding. If something is working, increase your bid, for instance. And about budgeting, if something works, you can also increase the budget. Now, one of the assumptions that we have is that actually Facebook is pretty good at targeting. Like lookalike audiences overall work really well. And Facebook is also pretty good at bidding. So when it comes to testing, we focus on creative. And when it comes to optimizing, we focus on budget. When we test creative also, we will try to achieve the lowest possible CPI. And when it comes to optimizing, we will do that on budgets, and we will have a post-install goal in mind, so we'll optimize based on the ROI. Okay, so how do we test the creative? So we have implemented a robust process, and we actually test new creatives on a weekly basis. So quite often we hear that other marketing teams don't have enough resources to do that. We now have a dedicated designer for the user acquisition team, and really we recommend that because that has changed a lot of things for us. And so now we receive new creatives on a weekly basis. Once we receive them, we'll create an ad study to A/B test the different banners. So an ad study is the ability that Facebook offers to target the same audience, but divided in separate silos, and each silo will be delivered a different message. So in that way, users are exposed only one ad. And based on that, you can really evaluate if one specific messaging, one specific banner or video worked better than the other. We then evaluate the results of the ad study. If one ad has been successful, we roll it out to the rest. And at the end of the week, we will also write another brief to the design team to iterate on what we've learned and to test new concepts the following week. Now, on the automation side of things, We have been playing a lot with the Facebook API using Python, and we try to make decisions based on impression to install. This is the KPI we're using to evaluate if a banner is working well or not. And we do this only once we have reached statistical significance. So if we use this example, what we see here is that this is our control ad. So the ad that's been working the best for the past few weeks, few months. And in this example, we actually have two that are performing much better. And there is also this one. This one didn't work really well, so we'll probably forget about it, or maybe iterate on it. Maybe there's something in the actual ad that we can change, that we can tweak to retest it next week. But overall, we're going to leave it on the side for the time being. And so what we'll do is we'll roll out these two, because they seem to be performing really well. And this one, it's actually not performing that much worse than the control group, so we'll actually add it to a backlog. And maybe in 2 or 3 months, if our performance drops, we can use it again and roll it out to all our ad sets. And then what we also did, and what we found tedious before, using FMPs, even if we still use them, or still use one, we found it quite complicated to roll out one ad to all the relevant ad sets. So in that example, if we have 2 ads that are performing really well, we want to roll them out to all our ad sets that are in English. And so we wrote this function that allows us to do that automatically. And again, we really encourage you to look into the Facebook API, because it allows to streamline a lot of the things that you're doing on Facebook. Okay, so we're in a situation where we found something that worked really well, and we rolled it out to all our different ad sets. Now, how do we make exactly the most of it? So we'll actually have a rather similar process, and we will evaluate the performance of the ad set based on the ROI, and we'll compare it to a specific ROI goal. So we will then make 3 different recommendations, as you can see here. The first recommendation is to increase the budget when it's much higher than the ROI goal. The second one is to actually decrease the budget of the given ad set, or if we're not quite sure of the performance of the ad set, we'll wait a little bit longer to have more data to make a decision. And we're also quite happy with leaving the ROI at a specific level, simply because, or at the budget at the same level if it's close to our ROI goal, simply because if you increase or decrease your budget, this should also impact your ROI. If you increase the budget, the ROI is likely to drop a little. So we run another script through all our ad sets. We look at the ROI, and we have a recommendation which says either increase, either decrease, or wait a little bit longer. Now then we apply this decision tree. So if the recommendation is to increase, we'll have a look at the level of the budget, and based on the level of the budget, we'll then increase the budget by formula, or just add some like a specific value to the budget. One side note here maybe is that we are running this every other day, so Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We could be doing that maybe a little bit more often. We're thinking about this. But overall, our whole thinking behind this process is to be rather cautious and rather conservative. It seems that if you are, Facebook recommends to not change the budget too often, because you're risking messing up your entire campaign. And so we're really trying to, first of all, not change the budget too often, but even when we change it, not increase it by too much. So we will never increase it by, for example, more than 25%. Okay, so we have a recommendation. Based on the recommendation, we'll decide what the budget is. And eventually what we come up with is an ad set ID and a new budget. And again, we have used the Facebook API to write a script that will push all these new budgets to directly to Facebook. So it now takes us basically probably 2 minutes to optimize all our campaigns, whereas before it was taking us an hour or 2 hours a day. So we really managed to save a lot of time, and again, spend much more time working on the first part, which was testing the creative and specifically coming up with new concepts regarding this. So to summarize, we have two processes. One is to test the creative. We'll try to find the creative that has the best CPI. We do that on a weekly basis. And we do that using Facebook's ability to run ad studies. And on top of this, once we have things that work, we try to make the most of it. And what we do is look at the ROI of all our ad sets, based on this, make recommendations, change budgets, and push them to Facebook. So yeah, this is it. This is our experience with automating user acquisition on Facebook. Yeah, if you have any questions, we're happy to answer them. Thank you very much.